All right, so today let's dive into something I think we've all probably wrestled with at some point.
Oh, yeah.
Procrastination.
For sure.
We're going deep with Maurice Burnside's 7-day challenge to crush procrastination workbook.
Okay.
Plus some insights from his book, 12 Resolutions for a Better You.
Sounds good.
And I'll admit, even like starting this workbook felt a little ironic. Talk about procrastination, right?
Right.
But hey, we're all about solutions, not shame today.
Exactly. And speaking of solutions, day 1 of the workbook jumps right into identifying the problem.
Okay.
That one task you just can't seem to get started on.
I think what's so interesting is that the workbook doesn't just tell you to write it down.
Right.
It encourages you to dig into the why.
Right.
Why are we avoiding this specific thing?
That's where it gets fascinating.
Yeah.
It's often not laziness, but deeper emotions at play.
Interesting.
Fear of failure, perfectionism making it feel impossible to even start. It can be surprisingly insightful to connect those emotions to the task.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's like realizing you've been avoiding that presentation, not because it's boring, but because you're afraid of being judged. Okay, so let's say we've nailed down the why.
Okay.
Day 2 is all about breaking it down, right?
Exactly. Burnside calls them micro steps.
Okay.
Essentially taking that giant, intimidating task and chopping it into bite-sized pieces. Think of it like this.
Yeah.
Our brains love feeling a sense of accomplishment, even small ones.
Right.
A tiny step forward still triggers those reward pathways,
Interesting.
making us more likely to keep going.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
So instead of clean the entire house, it becomes spend 15 minutes decluttering the kitchen counter.
Exactly.
Feels way more doable, and you get that little win to build on.
Exactly. And that sense of progress is key.
Okay.
Because on day 3, Burnside throws a curveball.
Okay.
Finding an accountability partner.
Okay, I have to admit, when I first read this, I was like, wait, I have to tell someone about my procrastination. But the more I thought about it, maybe there's power in that shared commitment.
There absolutely is.
Okay.
Think about it.
Yeah.
We often put more pressure on ourselves than anyone else would.
But that's probably true.
An accountability partner isn't there to judge,
Okay.
but to offer support.
Right?
Celebrate those micro wins and gently nudge us when we need it.
Yeah.
It shifts the dynamic from internal pressure to shared progress.
I'm starting to see the genius of Burnside's approach here. But what about when that fear pops up again?
Right.
Day 4 tackles that head on. Reframe the fear.
What I find brilliant about this is that Burnside doesn't tell you to ignore the fear.
Okay.
Instead, he gives you a tool to flip the script.
Interesting.
He asks, what if, instead of what if I fail?
Right.
You asked, what if I learn and grow from trying?
Wow, that's a powerful reframe.
It is.
Suddenly, it's not about avoiding mistakes, but about seeing them as part of the process.
Exactly.
I think that's a huge mental shift for a lot of us,
I agree.
especially if we're prone to perfectionism.
Right.
Absolutely. And that mental shift is crucial as we move into day 5, which, let's be honest, is a battle for all of us.
Oh, yeah.
Eliminate distractions.
Oh,
Tell me about it.
I know.
Between social media emails and just that random urge to rearrange my desk instead of working.
Yeah.
Distractions are my procrastination kryptonite.
I hear ya.
Does Burnside have any magic solutions for this one?
Well, he reminds us that our brains are actually wired to seek out novelty and stimulation.
Okay.
That's why those pings and notifications are so hard to resist.
Right.
But he also gives some practical tips,
Yeah.
like the Pomodoro technique.
Right. I've heard of that.
Have you?
It's setting a timer for 25 minutes of focused work, followed by a short break, right?
Yes.
But why is that so effective?
It plays to our brain's strengths.
Okay.
Instead of fighting our natural tendency to seek novelty, we're giving it those little dopamine hits of new thing during the breaks.
Interesting.
This helps us stay focused during those 25-minute bursts because we know a break is coming.
Right.
Plus, it breaks down work into more manageable chunks.
That's so clever.
Right.
It's like we're tricking our brains into focusing by promising them a little reward.
Exactly.
All right, day 5 conquered.
Yes.
We're feeling good about ourselves. Time to celebrate, right?
You read my mind. Day 6 is all about celebrate small wins.
I like it.
This might sound cheesy, but hear me out.
Okay.
Every time we achieve something, even something tiny,
Right.
our brain releases dopamine,
Okay.
that feel-good chemical.
Yeah.
So celebrating reinforces the connection between action and reward,
Right.
making us more likely to repeat those actions.
So it's not just about feeling good in the moment, but actually rewiring our brains to crave that sense of accomplishment.
Exactly. It's like building a positive feedback loop.
That's pretty cool.
Now let's talk about day 7.
All right, bring it on.
Okay.
I'm ready to crush this procrastination thing once and for all.
Let's do it. Welcome back to our deep dive into conquering procrastination.
Oh man, it's incredible how much we've already uncovered about like these strategies
I know, right?
for tackling this challenge that I think everyone faces.
Absolutely.
And now we want to kind of shift gears and hear from you, our listener.
Okay.
We asked you all what resonated most from part 1.
Yes.
And we've got some fascinating insights to share.
For sure.
One listener shared that the concept of micro steps was a game changer for them. They're working on this huge project and just felt completely overwhelmed.
Right.
But breaking it down into those smaller steps just made it feel so much more approachable.
That's great.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us can relate to that.
For sure.
Just that feeling of being paralyzed by a massive task.
Yeah.
What's interesting is this listener also pointed out that celebrating those small wins along the way gave them a much-needed boost of motivation.
That's so important.
So crucial.
Yes.
Like building momentum with each small victory, propelling you forward toward that larger goal.
Exactly.
Another listener shared that they were struggling with finding an accountability partner.
Interesting.
Oh, they loved the idea, but felt a bit hesitant about sharing their goals with someone else.
That's totally understandable.
Right.
It can feel really vulnerable to open up about our aspirations.
Absolutely.
Especially if we're afraid of judgment or, someone's going to think we're not good enough.
Totally.
So I totally get that hesitation.
What advice would you give to someone in that position?
I would say start by choosing someone you trust.
Okay.
And feel comfortable with. It doesn't have to be a formal arrangement.
Right.
It can just be a friend, a family member, or even a fellow listener
That's true.
who you can check in with and share your progress.
That makes sense. So it's more about having that shared support and encouragement than a strict formal agreement.
Exactly. And sometimes just vocalizing your goals to someone else can make them feel more real.
Oh, for sure.
And tangible, right?
Absolutely.
It's like, okay, I said it out loud, now I got to do it.
Exactly. And speaking of making things real, another listener mentioned that the concept of reframing fear from day 4 was like a real eye-opener.
Oh, wow.
They've been putting off launching their own business.
Okay.
Because of the fear of failure.
Oh, yeah. I can relate to that.
But shifting their perspective to, what if I learn and grow from this experience?
Right.
Help them see things in a whole new light.
That's awesome. I love that.
I love that too. Instead of viewing fear as a roadblock, it becomes an opportunity for growth and learning.
Right. It takes the pressure off perfection and allows for the possibility of setbacks and challenges as part of the journey.
It makes it more realistic, right? It's not always going to be perfect.
Yeah. Life is messy.
And it ties in beautifully with another listener's takeaway, which was the importance of focusing on the present moment.
Yeah.
Embracing the today, not tomorrow philosophy.
I like that.
From Burnside's book. That's such a powerful concept.
It is.
It's so easy to get caught up in worrying about the future or dwelling on the past.
Right.
But ultimately, all we have is now. Right. And by taking action today, we're not just making progress towards our goals.
Right.
We're also shaping our future selves.
Yes.
Embodying the person we want to become.
I love that.
That's a great way to put it. It's not just about checking tasks off a list. It's about becoming the best version of ourselves.
Totally.
And, another listener highlighted something that I think speaks to that personal growth aspect. They were really struck by the idea of celebrating small wins.
Oh, I love that one. It's so easy to overlook those little victories.
It is.
But they're actually so crucial for maintaining motivation and building that positive reinforcement.
Absolutely. It's like giving ourselves a little pat on the back for every step we take.
Yes.
And those small celebrations can be anything.
Right.
That brings you joy, a delicious cup of coffee, a walk in nature, or even just taking a moment to acknowledge your own efforts.
Exactly. It's about creating those positive associations with the process
Yeah.
of working towards our goals.
Yeah.
And this ties in beautifully with Burnside's overall message.
Right.
That taking action, even small steps, is the best remedy for procrastination.
It's a simple but powerful reminder
I agree.
that we have the agency to create the lives we want,
Right.
one step at a time. But I'm curious, from all these amazing listener insights, what stood out to you the most?
What really struck me was the recurring theme of mindset. Whether it was reframing fear, focusing on the present moment, or celebrating small wins, it was clear that our thoughts and beliefs play a huge role in how we approach procrastination.
That's a great point. It's not just about having the right tools and techniques.
Right.
It's also about cultivating the right mindset for success.
I agree.
And I think that's a perfect segue into part 3 of our deep dive,
Okay.
where we'll be exploring some practical tips for applying these strategies to your own life.
Awesome.
But before we do that, we'd like to leave you with one final question to ponder.
Okay.
Thinking back on everything we've discussed so far, what's one specific area where you feel you could make the biggest improvement in overcoming procrastination?
Ooh, good question.
Is it breaking down tasks, managing distractions, cultivating a positive mindset, or something else entirely?
Yeah, what is it for you, listener?
Take a moment to really reflect on this question. We'll be back in part 3 to explore your answers and provide you with actionable tools to tackle those specific challenges head on. Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into conquering procrastination.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
It's been incredible exploring these strategies and hearing all your insights.
I agree.
But now let's get down to the practical stuff.
Okay.
How do we actually apply all this to our lives and make real progress?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right.
And based on what you, our listener, shared about your biggest procrastination hurdles, we're going to focus on 2 key areas.
Okay.
Breaking down those daunting tasks.
Right.
And tackling those pesky distractions.
Let's start with breaking things down.
Okay.
Because honestly, feeling overwhelmed is my personal procrastination trigger.
I get that.
When a task feels huge, it's like my brain just shuts down.
It's a very common reaction.
Is it really?
Our brains are wired to conserve energy.
Okay.
And facing a mammoth task feels like an energy drain.
Interesting.
So that's where micro steps come in. Think of it this way.
Okay.
Instead of climbing a mountain, we're taking a leisurely walk with clear milestones along the way.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
But how do we actually apply it?
Okay.
Say I want to finally organize my entire home office.
All right.
It's been a disaster zone for months.
Okay, so instead of organize the entire office, your first micro step could be as simple as spend 15 minutes clearing off the desk.
Okay.
That's it.
Achievable.
Right.
Totally. And I bet even that small step would make me feel a bit more in control.
Exactly.
Less overwhelmed by the chaos.
Yes. And here's a bonus tip.
Okay.
Once you've identified that first micro step, schedule it into your day.
Okay.
Literally put it in your calendar.
Interesting.
This makes it a commitment rather than just a vague intention.
That's a great point. It takes it from this abstract, I should do this sometime, to a concrete action item.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's say we've mastered the art of micro steps.
Right.
What about those distractions?
Oh, yeah.
That seem to lurk around every corner.
Yes, the siren call of the internet.
Right.
The allure of that unopened mail.
All of it.
It's a battle for all of us.
Yeah.
Remember how we talked about the Pomodoro technique earlier?
Yes.
That's a great weapon in this fight.
Right, those 25-minute work sprints with the short breaks.
Yes.
But beyond that, what else can we do to create a distraction-free zone?
Think about your physical workspace.
Okay.
Is it cluttered? Does it have visual reminders of other tasks?
Oh, interesting.
Even seemingly insignificant things can trigger our brains to switch gears.
So clearing off the desk, putting away non-essential items, maybe even having a dedicated work mode playlist.
Right.
All those little things can add up.
Absolutely. It's about sending a clear signal to your brain.
Okay.
This is the focus zone. No distractions allowed. Another powerful technique is what I call temptation bundling.
Okay, that sounds intriguing.
Does it?
What is temptation bundling?
It's basically pairing something you need to do with something you enjoy.
Okay.
For example, I only listen to my favorite podcast while I'm exercising.
Interesting.
The enjoyable activity becomes a reward for doing the necessary task.
I love that it turns the have to do into a want to do.
Exactly.
So if I really want to watch that new episode of my favorite show, Maybe I make that my reward for finishing a certain amount of work.
Exactly. It's a way to leverage our own psychology to our advantage.
I like it.
And remember, even with the best strategies in place, there will be days when procrastination wins.
That's true.
The key is to be kind to yourself.
Right.
Acknowledge the slip up. And get back on track tomorrow.
I think that's such an important point. It's not about being perfect. It's about progress.
Exactly.
And speaking of progress, think back to that one area you identified as needing the most improvement.
Okay.
What's one micro step, no matter how small, that you can commit to taking today to move forward?
Write it down. Schedule it in and then celebrate that win.
I love it.
Remember, as Burnside says, the best remedy for procrastination is taking action today, not tomorrow.
So true. We hope this deep dive has given you the tools and the motivation to tackle your procrastination head on.
Yes.
We're excited for you to embark on this journey of progress and achievement.
I agree.
Until next time, happy diving.